Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Soldering with Javi. Today we're going to be putting together a box. So, let me move some stuff around here and get everything ready. Most of the stuff most of the cables I've soldered beforehand. And so, let's see here. Wait for some of you to join in here. Let me go drop in on the tubes and see how it's going over there. Hey, Philip, how are you? I'm just going to be soldering stuff. Well, not soldering, putting together, actually. Let's see if we can get a box going. Alrighty. Eight o'clock got me by surprise, so my workbench is still a little cluttered. Which I understand a cluttered desk is a sign of genius, so I don't know what's going on there. Hey, Paul, how's it going? Oh, excellent! You got your packages today. That's good to hear. Let's see. There you are. Yep, I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to watching the you guys when you get those things up and running. Because well, just because I am. All right, let's see what we got here. So now most of the stuff I already I took care of a lot of this already. I wired the inputs and outputs. Let me double check them because, and I have one. I was temporarily using this. There's my screwdriver. There it is. I was temporarily using this driver. So let me just. I have to re-hook it up, because I was using it to test some motors. So let's see, I've got this cable, red cable. Ah, excellent. Excellent. You got your motors today. That's good to hear. You know, the post office surprises me. Sometimes it takes, a few days. Sometimes it's from one day to the next. You can you can never tell. All right. First thing I like to do is hook up the fans, the 12 volts. So because so let me hook up the 12 volt supply, which is this puppy right here. Let me turn off my solder pot because I'm not going to need that for a while. Okay. Now, I don't like to cut them both at the same time because then I don't remember which is which, and I know that this one's the positive one, so let's just do the positive one first. And this one I like to make it easy on myself and use one of my, it's a lever lock connector. I love these things. They're expensive though, so you don't, use them sparingly. You just pull these little things up, and then each one, you just put the wire in and book, and there's a nice little crimp. Oh, excellent. That's good to hear, Philip. I appreciate that. I try to put my heart and soul into this thing, so you know. Okay, now apparently I have to. Where did I put some fans? The fans are not in here. I thought I'd put everything away in each one. Hang on, let me grab a set of fans from one of the others. No, here they are. Okay, good. I did have them. All right. First bit of assembly we do. Yes, yes, absolutely. I'll get to your question in a second, John. Hang on, for Delbert. I always get the two Wests confused. You're going to receive two files from me. You're going to receive the driver file, which is called R&R motion.dll, and that one I'll send you the instructions. That one you're going to put in the that one's going to be in the plugins folder. And then the other thing you're going to do is you're going to get a file called Javibox M1 Mark 1 Javibox M1 USB. And that one you just drop into the Mach 3 folder. And with that, you open up your Mach 3 loader, you choose the Javibox, and you should be up and running right away. So assuming you connected everything. So I'll send that to you when I take a break here. I'll send that to you. Unless you need it right now, then I'll obviously. Let's see here. Yeah, let me send that to you right now, so that way at least you'll... Okay, so... Bear with me, folks, while I send a file. I thought I had that. I gotta create a file link for you guys. Let's see what I can do here. So if anybody drops in to say hi, let them know what I'm doing. It'll take a couple minutes here. I'm creating a link for the files. And where is my drive? There it is. And Hobbybox files. Copy. Okay, let me drop them into this page. I wonder if I did this already. Let me see. Not yet. Okay, so here we go. Copy. Paste. copy. Sorry guys, I'm just transferring some files here. Should be any moment now. Into the, what did I say it was? The plugins. Into the Mach 3. And one last thing I have to do. Which is, where is it? I believe that's the latest one. Excuse me, guys. I think it is the latest one. Okay. Yeah. Let me get the info here. So, folks, what I'm doing now is, pardon me for straying here from the planned thing, but one of the customers asked me for where do I get the files, so I'm putting them up on the website. So I am doing that now to open. Okay, so we should be good to go. Go to. Hey, Dylan, how's it going? Hey, Dave, good to see you. Let me scroll back here. Okay, so back to your question, Delbert, I believe, even though it says Ashley. Okay, go to frequently asked questions number 19. That's Javi.com / here, I'll just put it up here. Javi.com / FAQ. And that should give you the that. Why is my thing all the wrong color? That's better. That should give you the 2 files you need, and there's some instructions there in the frequently asked questions. So there you go. So you're all set. Hey, Dave, how's it going? Let's see. Just in case you want to pop in, Dave, here's the. I'll just send you a link there to join me if you like. Gary, good to see you. Yep. And hey, Dave C, big Dave. Let's see. And appreciate the thumbs up. Big C, Big D, never remember which. Mr. Chris from Niantic River Woodworks. River woodcrafting. Well, I can. I may not be able to read woodcrafting, but I can certainly pronounce Niantic. So at least there's that. And good to see you, Dylan. Haven't seen you in a while. Been good. I've been good. I've been chilling, and in my semi-retirement, I decided to help the CNC community by creating CNC controller boxes, and that's what I'm doing. And today I'm going to assemble one. So the first step that I normally do is the stuff I already did, which is the soldering and all the bulk stuff. Then we get the small fans. So let me prepare them. And I like to keep the system cool, so good job pronouncing. Yep. Oh, there's Dave. Ah, excellent.
Howdy, howdy.
How's it going, Dave? Oh, good. You can watch the chat.
Yeah, let me. I'll open it up over here. So.
Yeah, in case you.
Got a big crowd here tonight.
Ah, yeah. Oh, are there? How many we got out there?
Well, let's see. We got 14,
Nice.
14 watching on YouTube.
Ah, that's a good thing. All right, so let's see. I'll take a red and a black. Always have my wires handy.
You can go ahead and put me on the little screen, Javi. They're going to need to see you more than me.
All righty.
They might catch me napping.
I always forget to do that. I hear you. So, like I said, I love these lever lock connectors. They're fantastic. All I got to do is, let's see. This one was the positive, so I'm putting the positive of that fan. This is the main positive from the power supply, which I'll run in a second. Positive of the other fan, and the positive of the last fan. And then I do the same thing with the negatives. For those of you that didn't see it, a little lever lock connector. These things are fantastic. Lever lock nuts. It's a little hard to pull them up, takes a little bit of strength, but putting them down is easy. And what they do is they have these little things that crimp anything from a size 16 down to a 24. So you just boonk. Boonk. And they hold pretty well. Don't want to pull on those wires too much because these little fan wires, they don't need much current, so they're out. You got to watch the connectors, though. They snap back pretty strong. And then the last for the big fan. So they're wired up. Now let's wire up the power supply. I had this temporarily wired before for, again, I was testing one of the motors, so. But here we go. We got, I know my colors, but red is hot. My blue is ground, and my yellow is neutral. I bought some white and green wires, so eventually I'll put the correct colors, but it really doesn't matter as long as long as you can follow the wires. And so line in is this one over here. And you always got to double check because the 36 volt supply is a lot different from the 12 volt supply, and likewise from the 24 volt supply. They're each wired just slightly differently. They get to be a bit annoying. But usually, in most cases, for these supplies, I mean, when you're wiring a lot of them, the thing I like to remember is ground is toward the inside. In other words, it's on this supply, it's line, neutral, ground, and then 36 volt negative, and then, which is also kind of connected to ground, and then positive. And this one's just reversed. It's line, neutral, ground going this way, then negative, then positive. But the negative and the ground are always on the inside. That's just something to keep refreshing in my mind. Have to go practice your banjo. I love banjo music. I am a fan of banjo music. I was watching yesterday. Hey, Alex, how's it going? I look taller. Well, here, if you want, I can look shorter. There you go. I was watching last night. It was fantastic. It was on, I think it was Get TV. Yeah, it was on Get TV. It was the Johnny Mathis show. And it was great because one of my favorite, aside from Johnny Cash. Sorry, guys. Never get those two confused. As far as favorite singers, aside from Cash, who's fantastic, I'm a big fan of the Statler Brothers. Hey, David, how's it going? And the Statler Brothers were usually a regular on Johnny Cash's show, so I got to see them perform "Flowers on the Wall" and a lot of the 2 or 3 of my favorites there. And also they had a tribute to Kenny Rogers. And I saw that as well. That was fantastic. That was let's see, who was it? Lionel Richie and a bunch of others, because Lionel Richie sang that song with him. And a bunch of other country singers were there. They were all from their own homes, because of the COVID, and they were all singing their I guess they're different songs, but straight from their home on their own guitars. Brad Paisley did a duet with Stone, and it was all of them were just incredible, absolutely incredible. All right, so 12 volts done, and now what I like to do is I'm going to test the 12 volt, but before I do that, I don't want to leave bare wires hanging, namely live wires. So I'm going to just connect the 36 volt supply. And the reason I do this more than anything else is also to check both power supplies first, because if I start putting them inside there and then one of them's bad, which so far out of all the boxes I've done, 2 of them have turned out bad. So I don't want to have to disassemble the whole thing just to, Needless to say, at the end of the evening, I'm sweeping my floor from all the little tiny. There's no way you can aim these little wire pieces. So they all go on the floor. I try to aim them toward a general area on the floor, and I'm done. Let's see. So you saw it last night. Not a big fan of country music, even though you play banjo. But yeah, that show was fantastic. It was great. And yeah, I really like the show. It's some time ago, I was watching. Speaking of banjo music, I was watching. I forgot which channel, but I love the local channels here in Central Florida. I mean, they got some great little shows, and it was, oh my God, my mind went blank. Little Lou and he's a famous banjo player, an old guy, and his daughter. Dave, you wouldn't happen to know who I'm talking about, would you?
An old guy.
It's an old. I want to say Little Lou, but it's not Little Lou. It's Little something.
And they played the banjo.
Yeah, yeah. He plays the banjo, he plays the guitar, and he plays the violin. I mean, I mean the fiddle. He plays. I mean, he's. Oh God. Let me see if I can find the name here.
Yeah, the only ones I can think of, Steve Martin played banjo.
Right, and Boss Gags and. I want to say Lou or Luke or something like that, but let's see. Let's see. No, I don't want popular musics. I want to hear popular banjo. Here, list of bluegrass bands. Let me see if I want to say it's Little something. It might be Little Joe or something. No, it's not Little Joe. Well, it'll come to me. If anybody knows, nope, not Ernest Tubbs. But it's oh, for the life of me, I can't. I don't remember what it is. All right, so let's see what we got here. We have our power supplies currently wired. So what I'm going to do now is very carefully plug it in so as not to stick my fingers on the back of the plug. Make sure nothing's going to be shorted. If you see a spark, I did something wrong. And crank it on.
Little Jimmy Dickens, was that it?
No. Oh, there we go. Okay, so, no. No, not Little Jimmy Dickens. All right, so as you see here by this light, 36 volt power supply is running fine. And I'll try to pick these up. Here's the running fan. Both of the fans are running, and the one in the back is actually lit up and running. So we're good to go. Power supplies are running, fans are running. Now to put the stuff together. Okay, so here we go. All right. We grab the fans are about an inch thick, so we use 1.5 inch screws just one to secure it. They're not going to go anywhere. And one thing that you got to remember is the label toward the back, because the label is the direction of the air, and we want the flow of air to go out the back. So that's important. Well, yeah, I don't want to be circulating heat. And of course, I don't have the correct tip on the screwdriver, so let's fix that. Have a good one, Chris. I'll come up with that name eventually. All right, so one fan down. Next one. Now this is a little spacer block that I made, and it's got indentations for all the boards that I need to mount on it. And I worry about all the wire management at the end, but right now, that's done. Now, before, okay, so now we'll mount our 24 volt supply. Well, before we do that, let's go ahead and put this one in place. Let me, okay. Here's our 4 power power plugs for the drivers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Blue is negative in this case. What micro stepping are you guys using on your CNCs? Are you asking what the settings are? That's 6400. But on the 6400 on the box, but it's got to be 120. What? It's got to be 12.8 on the other thing on the. 6400 on the box, 12.8 on Mach 3. All right, so now I got to make sure it doesn't matter because all 3 V plus and all 3 V minus are connected together. But since I'm attaching 2 of these to the same terminal screw, I want to attach the other 2 to the same terminal screw. It's just a pet peeve of mine. Little OCD. Left, left, right, right. I mean, because if it comes time that I have to take something apart, and the colors are the same, I don't have to be tracing it or anything like that.
Yeah, Chris was wanting to know what the micro stepping you said on the drivers.
Yeah, on the drivers, that's 6400. It's a simple setting. Here, I'll show you. Now these are 542s. There's 5 or 6 different types of 542s, but they're all stepped the same. I mean, they're all switched the same. At least all the ones that I've purchased, but there may be exceptions. But basically, you're looking at pins 6 and 8 on, everything else off. That makes things easier for you. Make sure everything's nice and tight so I can't pull them out. Not that anybody's going to be pulling on these wires in here, but I just don't want them to work their way out. And now, the last two. Yellow. Where are my blue? There are my blue wires. So actually, I'll need really short ones, so I might as well grab them from my short stack. There we go. Alrighty. I lost my clippers. There they are. All right. So here we go. I'm connecting the last two to the 36 volt out to the third power supply, which is the 24 volt side. Because without 24 volts, it's not going to work. Try as you might. So many people are going, I can't get it to work. I can't get it to work. Do you have a 24 volt supply? No. Oh. The motors will run, but that's about it. And you'll be powering them off the USB, which is not safe either. All right, so make sure the orientation is correct, which it is. And then I'll just so this is V plus and V minus. This is I don't know what most people are using. I have seen 400. I have seen it. It really makes no difference. Well, it does, but it doesn't. Everything depends, Chris. Everything depends on it's all about balance, and it depends on the motors. What the motors are. It depends on what the power supply is. It depends on. I have 4 different power supplies that I receive, 36 volts, and depending on which one, I set them differently. It depends also on the motors. I have some that are 400 ounce, and I have some that are 425 ounce. Now, you could argue, and that it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, and you'd probably be right. It probably wouldn't make much a difference, some of these settings, but I want a perfectly electrically balanced system. Perfect example, the output for the spindle. Some of these boards are all identical. They're all programmed identical. But because of the differences and the variances, some of the boards put out 12 volts and some of them put out 10 volts for the spindle motor. If you put out 12 volts for the spindle motor, that's no big deal. Oh, you plugged in the hobby box to watch the fan light up? That's funny. That it's no big deal if you turn your spindle on, but if you do an S12000 command, which an S12000 is, let's say your spindle, like most of these, is the either air-cooled or the water-cooled Chinese spindle, it's 24,000 RPM. Well, if you put S12000, you should have 12,000 RPM. If this is not tuned correctly, or if your power supply is not tuned correctly, then And if the board is not tuned correctly, you're going to end up getting S12,000 will be like 8 volts, so it'll really be like it'll be like 19,000 RPM. The RPMs are it's supposed to be a linear scale. 24,000 RPM, 10 volts even. 5 volts for 12,000 RPM. 2.5 for 6,000 RPM, assuming you have a water cooled, because the air cooled won't run that slow. And just saying. I don't like to mess around with this. This is, I don't have a problem with anyone doing their own boards. Of course not. I encourage it. But, you spend years learning I've got too much information in my head. Let's put it that way. I know all the different things that can go wrong. Not likely to go wrong. But it's like, imagine a car manufacturer writing a car for the first time. If he built the thing, he knows exactly what it's capable of and what can go wrong with it. That might make him a little bit more worried than the average person. But you never know. Most of these settings in Mach 3 and most of these connections, maybe half, are not important. You can do like the micro stepper. Some micro steppers connections are not important. You put the wrong micro stepper on a TB 6600 and you'll watch that thing burn out. It also depends on the driver. The DM 840, the 543T is a solid and a low voltage, a low current driver, whereas the plain one without the letter on it is just a generic. Well, some of the boxes I have the DM 543Y, and I love the 543Ys because you shouldn't, and I don't recommend it, but on the Ys you can unplug the motor and plug it back in and no problem. You can't do that with these. You do that with these and you're going to go buzz, you're going to be hearing a lot of buzzing and stuff. You may or may not burn it out, but never ever unplug your motors or plug them in with the machine on. It should be common sense, but so here we go. So this is our 24 volt supply. I've already turned these on and tuned them to 24 volts, so we should be good to go there. So now we'll get the stepper. And there's, okay. The output of, okay. So this is the output common. Output common goes to 24. So I shall turn on my soldering gun. It was off. Okay, that's good. That's good. This is good. All right. Nope. That's this one. How's it going, Clyde? Afternoon? All right. All right, we're heated up over here. Clean my tip. Tin my tip. Solder the connection. And comes the wonderful heat shrink. So this gets distributed to the board and to the 24 volt positive. Goes to the board and to the controller board and to the output common. So with that, we have our plus 5, or V plus connected. Went to the post office today. There was a line for an hour and a half. It's crazy. All right. Let's not confuse those wires. Okay, now for the negative. Let's see, negative goes to... Just want to make sure nothing's duplicated. Okay, so negative goes to negative. DAC and common. Good. That's it. So negative just goes to negative. Well, there's always something missing. I hadn't soldered these connectors yet, so there's one connector that needs some soldering. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. As soon as I could find my small screwdriver. Not working too hard. Let's see. Ah, there it is. So let's put this aside for the moment. Always remember where I put the little tiny screw, because if I don't do that, and now this plug, top and toward me, toward the left. Top is blue and black. Blue and black. And here we go. Let's tin the connectors. The connector. Where's my big clamps? Gotta have my big, tin this wire. And tin this wire. Then comes the fun part. Make sure these are the right length, which they are not. Double check. Glad I double checked. Tin this wire. There we go. This will be the negative. This will be the positive up here. Don't like how that looks. But I do like how that looks. All right. So here we go. Let's go ahead and put a... And yes, I heat shrink everything, even though it's on the end of a connector and on the inside of a board. I don't like to have any chance for any wire hitting another wire or something like that. Besides, it looks more professional. All right. Normally you put this in first, but I've this is an empty side. This is a so there it is. I take my little screw that I had left here. Secure the connector. And that's what I get for not paying attention. I put it on a female connector, should be on a male connector. See that? Good evening, Troy. How's it going? I am building a box, pretty much start to finish. Well, you know, with a few little things in between. So there's the top. That's the top, and then toward me. So the top is blue. Top is blue. Toward me is okay. And this is how to tin these connectors. Some people have a difficult time, and I'll be honest with you. The first time I did this, I had a very difficult time tinning the connector. I made a mess of it, really. But I hadn't soldered in, I don't know how many years. And, but I haven't had an issue since, and now they're super quick. No problema. And that one's done. See that? That was even faster than the other one. Heat shrink. What happened to your PC, Troy? Crapped out after an update? That's not good. Oh. Did you try hitting F5 or F12 and going to an earlier, doing a restore to earlier settings? That might have worked. All right, now to continue. That was the only connector that wasn't in the panel, so the spindle connector. So now I think we're pretty much set after all of this. There's the spindle connector. There's the nut. Put it the right way. And with that, we have our board ready. Okay. Now we can make our last connections, which would be ground to ground, I mean to this. So earlier, if you remember, I connected the positive and I tapped into the common for the 4 outputs. Now the negative, I'm tapping into the spindle spindle negative, because the spindle needs a negative and it needs, the other one needs to be connected to the DAC, which is the variable 0 to 10 volt. So with that, you know, and I'm not going to wire them to, I don't like wiring them both to the same terminal connector. It's one can come off very easily, so I solder them to the to one wire. So then now there's only one wire that's connected to the terminal. I mean, that's the way it should be. In fact, same thing applies to electricity for any of you who are electricians. And you know it's against code to put two wires into one breaker. All right, here we go. This goes in there. How you doing, Dave?
I'm trying to stay awake over here. I didn't get a nap today, so
yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I'll be turning in early.
Yeah.
Have you heard anybody say that they've received their box and they're up and running with it?
Well, everybody's received them. Well, the first 12 people have received them, roughly 12. But, today, who was saying earlier? Delbert West got his, and he's been playing with the he's been turning it on to to watch the fan spin, you know. It won't take much to connect it. It really won't. You plug it into your USB, you run the Mach 3, load those two files, plug in the motors, and you can watch the motors turn. And that's fun. Well, I heard it's fun. But yeah, John West.
The reason I'm asking, I hadn't seen anybody post anything on Facebook. I figure somebody would probably post something on Facebook when they.
Yeah, eventually they will, but I'm hoping hoping they do. But you know, I mean,
they haven't got their machines built yet.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like you with the machines. It's a lot of them haven't even gotten the machines built. All right, now all I need are the 4 driver cables. And we're going to... I thought I put them out here. Guess I didn't. Oh, yes I did. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so driver cables. First we're going to do... So these I like to do one by one because if not, you mix them up. So yellow, positive. Yellow push. Or, yeah. And then yellow direction is the last one. And this one's got a little nibbly bit on it. There we go. Oh, bricked your motherboard. Oh, that stinks. All right, so we got the yellow driver and we got the Ys connected. Now we need the red. Well, no, let's do the which would normally be green, but in this case, it's black.
Yeah, I think I'm going to head on out, Javi.
All right.
I'm not going to be able to hang with you tonight, buddy.
That's fine. You bet you've had a busy day. Have a good one, Dave.
All right. We'll see you, man.
See you. I'd like to thank Dave for coming, and as always, for those of you that may or may not know, Dave's got a CNC channel. I don't think anybody here does not know that, but just in case. Okay, so we got the positive. This is going to be the Z axis. And we got the negative, rather the push, and then we got direction. We're almost done here, guys. It's just a matter of... well, I say that, but well, it's only 9. But by the end of this, you will see the motors running by the end of this episode. So if you stay tuned for the end, That's always fun. Well, we hope. You know what happens with lives. Everything goes wrong, but we hope. All right, so I'm batting 50-50 with most of these. And for the ones that do go wrong, I usually figure out the problem right away. So there may be a little troubleshooting in your future. And yeah, I like to do these outside because I have to screw the board in afterward, and it's just a pain in the butt to get in there after the fact. Put it all together after. For the show, I'm not going to neaten up the wires or anything like that. That's another time-consuming task that'll happen off camera. But and likewise, the testing is something I like to do off camera as well. I mean, one day, one show, I'll test it. But all right. So now, I've got the drivers. I've got the driver wires connected to the drivers. Okay. Now the next step is I got to screw down the drivers because I don't want these things flying around while we're doing this. And I don't know how much you guys can see, but I'll try to be quick about this. So and I will need this with the long screwdriver bit, which of course is misplaced somewhere. And I do not want to do this by hand, so let me keep looking for it. It's not here, it's not there, it's not there, and it's not there, so it's gotta be hopefully somewhere around here. No. This place is a mess, guys. Yeah, like I said, 8 o'clock got me by surprise. There we go, I found it. Let's see. Some kits have 400 and some have, some of the kits have 400 and some have 425. They're all run around 400 anyway, so it makes no difference. But you can see it on the side of the motor. It'll say, let's see, 23HE45 4204S, which will be the 425 ounce ones. All the ones that have gone out have 425s, I believe. Let's see. Screws. That would be a good idea. Yeah, for a while I had on there, let me see, the difference between 542 and 542T, the T is a lot more expensive. How's that? 542Ts are basically, fans are in the way. Sorry guys, forgot to screw the fan down, so let me do that first. the 542Ts are more expensive because only Stepper Online makes 542Ts. It's specific to them. Everybody else makes a 542, which is identical in just about except you can't call it a 542T. I have yet to see a noticeable difference in any of the 542s, so I'm not worried about any of them. Where is my... There they are. Little spacer. Attach the fan in the proper location. Okay. So this is the point where I'm basically screwing down the drivers. Hey, Jim, appreciate it. I always appreciate the watch time. Let me put the other one in first. The beautiful thing about this board design is that I actually have all the holes pre-drilled for the for these things. For the sorry, wrong side. There we go. I've got all the holes pre-drilled for the stepper motors, so I don't have to do any calculations as far as where they go. How's it going, Wilson? How's everything? I'm just here completing one of the builds. Okay. This is where it gets a little annoying. Well, not really, but just want to make sure the power supply fits. And it does. Good. I love my little pre-drilled holes. Planted 50 strawberry plants. Nice. Love strawberries. The strawberry festival was just here a little while back. Well, here in Central Florida, and you know, it's always fun. Okay, so I've secured the 4 drivers. Now I'm going to secure the 2 power supplies. And there is a slot specially designed in my... Let me put this the right way so I can see it head on. There we go. Okay. There we go. There's a slot on this board that goes right to that power supply and holds it in place even though it's screwed down in place, which is always nice. Oh, nice. You got a strawberry festival in May? Okay, so that goes in place. That goes in place. One of the outputs. Let's see here. Here we go. So needless to say, after I finish all the wiring and testing the motors, the next thing I test is the, and you'll see me do that too. You'll see me test the, I'll be testing the inputs and outputs. They may or may not work. They should, because it's not like I mess these things up. All right. This is for the motors. 1 motor, 2 motor, 3 motor, 4 motors. All right, everything is wired up except the actual, except the plugs to the motors. That's it. That's all we have left here. So let me go ahead and plug in the 4 drivers. These are the powers. So we have... where is my... There it is. V plus, V minus. That side. So this one will go here, like so. Let me make sure that's the right one. Yep. Nope. V plus, V minus. That is incorrect. Are these wired differently? I hope not. Always something, huh? I want to make sure I have it correct. So let me take this one off. Ground is on the outside, ground is on the outside, so if I were to turn it this way, yeah, ground is on the outside. That's correct. I don't know why in the world. See what happens when you second guess yourself, guys? Hey, Russ, how's it going? Never second guess yourself. You end up being right the first time. All right, so now, last thing we got is these 4 connectors, which I will now connect the last one. So we have everything wired as far as the plugs. You saw me wire the plugs for the from the board to the connectors. You saw me wire the power supply to the connectors. Now we only need from the motors to the connectors, which are these plugs, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here. So we shall need more connectors. Yellow, black. And as soon as we finish with this, we can go ahead and test them. Yep. First guess is always correct. Okay. A side. Well, let me just do both of them first. B side. All right, since I am going to be wiring a few of these up. Okay, so this is yellow. So that's going to be this one over here. Where are you? Here you are. You're going to go this way. And this one is this way. And this one is this way. Since we're going to be wiring a few of these up in a row. Yes and no, Wilson. I got a my bachelor's is in electronics. From FIU, I studied electronics. But most of my life, I worked with my father, who's a general contractor, became a general contractor myself, and I spent 30, 40 years in the trades. That's another funny story. And since I got time, I'll tell you. So some of you have heard this story. Some of you haven't. But my first boss. This is his name was Raphael. Imagine the guy from Platoon. as a foreman for a construction company. So that is pretty much, that's the guy who taught me, well, he taught me an awful lot. That's, okay, I don't need that much, so let's cut a little off. So, this guy always ran me ragged. He always screamed. He was always screaming. I mean, he was just like the guy from Platoon. And so, well, some of you already heard that story. Here's one you haven't heard. My father had this. He and a bunch of buddies of his. They were tradesmen that would work on numerous jobs together. You know, it was like kind of like a, I don't know, you call it a co-op, call it a small community. I mean, a lot of that, I mean, now in business, I find that for a while I was a part of BNI, Business Network International. And whether I was in the painting field or in the promotional products field or in the sign field, because I had a sign company for 12 years, whichever company it was, there was a group of guys. Ron, Big Ron's tree service, my tree guy. He's the guy I would recommend for everything. Let's see, this is blue. Blue is A is here, and A goes there and there. All right. So Big Ron, anytime he'd get a tree job and see that the house needed some paint, he'd call me. Anytime the electrician would see that a house was being remodeled and stuff, he'd call me. He'd call the alarm guy. We had a little network of businesses that would complement each other. And, you know, I mean, that's the best thing, teamwork. It's all about teamwork, and in your own business, you get a good team, and then also in you get together with several businesses that could refer each other, kind of like a association kind of thing, but not really. I mean, because nobody's paying anything other than, you know, you should. We're all good to each other, and if we're not good to each other, basically everybody stops referring to you. So trust me, we're not going to damage the relationship. So anyway, when I was into BNI, this was all fascinating to me, and I thought it was all brand new. It's one of the oldest concepts in the world. I mean, that's how people do business. But I didn't know that. And my father, now looking back, similar to the Freemasons, my father, looking back, basically did the same thing. He had a group of buddies. Let me see, this is red, blue, red. All right. He had a group of buddies. He was the GC. Then he had an electrician. He had a plumber buddy. He had a, and they were all good friends. He had an AC guy. And well, not only would they send each other business on a regular basis, but they would send each other's sons and daughters, if the case would apply. But I don't think I remember any sons. In other words, I'd go apprentice with the electrician under Angel. I was 14 years old, and I'd be following him around and learning all about There we go. All about the wiring. I mean, this is basic stuff, and then later it got a little bit more professional. But I'd learn mechanical work with the AC guy. I'd learn. Okay, this is red. Red is X. X is connected here. And it's going the wrong way. Hang on. Yep. This one's wired incorrectly. This one's wired correctly. Got to pay attention to what you're doing. Anyway. Flip. You don't want A positive and A negative in the wrong spot. So this is the way, this is how I learned. I learned not just my own trade, but my father believes, he's still alive, believes fiercely that if you're going to be the boss of any company, you better have worked in that company all the way down. I got a call center. I answered phones for months to know exactly what they'd be going through. You don't just buy a call center and put a bunch of people to work without knowing what they're going through. So when they complain and say, "Oh, this is too hard," well, it's not that hard. I did it. But I did it again. What is it with this? I think I might have been right the first time. Oh, no. That's right. Gotta watch myself. Keep an eye on me. All right, so 1, 2, 3. We got one more left. Here it is, green. So, do you know you have a soul? Do you know where it's going when you die? Jesus died so we could have everlasting life and all the sins according to the moral law. Yeah, of course. That stands to reason. Well, stands to faith, but that is my faith. But we don't mention faith on these things. As much as he is risen, and he is risen indeed. This is not the conversation for that. We're on the electronics forum. Get yourself kicked out of a lot of hangouts for that. Ugh. But I've been kicked out of nicer places. So, the last 4 connections, I believe. No, I can't talk and work at the same time. Never could. But I figure I've done this so many times. Well, as you can see, I guess I haven't done it enough times to be... Let me make sure. This is aiming that way. That goes there, and that goes there. That doesn't look right. And it's not. Yellow is the top. Good. That's more like it. Okay. Yep. Every company I've ever had, I have happily worked as a laborer for many years, or as a whatever the case may be. We're trained. All right, so all the connections I believe are in place. Let me double check here. All right, we got those four, those four, those four, and those four. Now all we need to do is connect this one, which is the Y. All right. Y goes there. X goes there. I'd rather Z goes there. I got to lengthen that cord, but I'll do that after. Let me test it first. This is the X. And this is the Z. So ready, folks? Ready for the test? I don't want to screw everything down yet until it's all ready, but and I'm not worried about the wires hitting the fans because they'll just stop the fans and it doesn't really matter that much for the moment. What I will do, however, is put this in here because I need to plug in and out the motors, and I want to do that correctly. And this I will have up in the air. Where is my cable? It was here a second ago. My USB cable, that is. There it is. Light turns on. Make sure that's clear of any obstructions. And here, ready guys? Hey Michael, how's it going? It's testing time. Alrighty. Power on. Power. I don't care about the fans. Power. All four work correctly. I'll grab a motor here. I will turn it off. Never, ever plug the motors in with it on. Plugging the X motor. It should turn, and let me put a tape so you guys can see it. Let me see if I can find a... Hang on, let me get a masking tape. Be right back. Got one. Didn't have to go very far. Okay. This should turn. Okay. It should turn this way. It should turn the top away from you when I hit the down button. So let's try it. In the X position. Reset. Where's my mouse? Buried back there. Reset. There we go. And now let's try X this way. There it is. This way. There it is. Off. Let's go for Y. All the motors are wired the same, so I'm not worried about which motor goes where. Well, because of the length of cables, make sure you pay attention to that. But okay, now Y, again, this way. Reset. Aha. Okay. Y is an issue. Let's try A. A should be the same as Y, so A will have the same issue. So Y and A we have to take a look at. Now Z should turn this way first. Z. Okay. So we have X and Z. Y and Z, but X is working perfectly fine. Let me double check Z again. Sometimes it's a matter of resetting. Yeah, it would help if I think I know what went wrong. Yeah. Sure enough. Remember, if you have two keyboards, don't press the one that applies to YouTube. Press the one that's over there. That's why it didn't work. Okay, so here we go again. I'm going to go back to the Y, which should have worked if I would have pressed the proper key. Go scroll back down here. There we go. All right, so on we go. Okay, back to Y. Now it should turn this way when I press this key. There it is. And this way? Good. A. It's very rare for 3 motors to fail. I mean, I'm maybe 1 having an issue, but not 3. So that was... I knew there had to be something else. Okay, Y again this way. Okay, YA. This way. Okay, that one is failing. All right, so that's YA. That's A, Y prime. Unplug everything. And let's go and see what's happening with this cable. That one's correct. That one's correct. Yeah, this cable's stretched out. Oh, it wasn't plugged in correctly. Okay. Yeah. Remember I said earlier the cable was stretched out? There's one cable in here that's a little too short. So let's just... let's make it longer. Troubleshooting is fun. And it was the direction cable, so it would have stopped it from working altogether. Let me see here. Rather the push, yeah. There we go. There we go. All right. That one goes back in. And for those of you who are into testing and all that stuff, remember when you take something out, like I took out the Y and the A, now I have to test the Y again. So you don't just assume you fixed one without messing another one up, you know? If just like on a car, if you have to remove a fan belt. If you have to remove the water pump fan belt to get to the to the alternator fan belt, well, when you run the alternator, make sure your water pump works. You know, I mean, I've seen it happen many times. All right, here we go. And back on you go. Not without power. There we go. Back on you go. And here we go with the resetting. Remember, for those of you who have gotten one of these at home and it doesn't work right away, check that reset button, because very often that's half the problem. All right, here we go again. There we go. A works now. And we're going to check Y again, even though it worked before. Now, I was noticing something with Z, so I want to check it out. Because this is something that, if you're ever testing for this, see, that little brrr, that's not right. If you put any force on that whatsoever, it's going to mess up. So that's indicative of something being miswired. So let's check the wiring. And if necessary, replace the driver, but most likely it's the wiring issue. All right, so this is correct. That's correct. This would be positive, positive. This would be pulse, which it is. And that would be direction, which it is. Sometimes what you do is make sure the dip switches are correct, because oftentimes what could happen is they might get messed up a little. And sometimes it's just resetting it. I did it again. That is the wrong speed. That is not the correct speed. Well, maybe it is the correct speed. I don't know. Yeah, it's It's working fine, but I don't like it. Let me try a different cable. Because if that's not the case, then I just got to swap out the driver. And if that doesn't work, then it's the controller board. But most likely, it's probably a bad driver or a bad cable. All right. Could be a bad connector. Well, folks, it's almost that time. Oh, look at that. I missed a few comments. Hang on a second. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. Thought I did. All right, here we go. Now this is something you shouldn't do, and I'm only doing it just to test. But if something doesn't work and it worked before, don't start messing with the settings, figuring, oh, it must be the settings. Yes. No. What do you mean the driver software? Yeah, it comes with the driver. Go to the FAQ. Go to Javi.com/FAQ and look at number 19. There's a link there for your driver file and your profile. So you load it up on Mach 3, everything runs. Let me try this one last thing with the motors before I move on to... I'm going to move on to the inputs and outputs now and make sure they're working fine. But first, I want to go to motor tuning real quick. And again, this is nothing that you should do. Make sure those two are correct. It's blue, red, black, yellow. Blue, red, black, yellow. I know what it is. I'm willing to bet I know what it is. Well, I'm not going to bet. But the one thing that I didn't check is the connector. And I've had one happen to me before, so if you have one, all you need is just one connection off. So let's see here. Red. This is the X and Y. This is not the one I wanted. Hang on. Yep, figured it out. That was it. You know, do not mix up B plus with B minus. I was looking at the. That's the one thing when you troubleshoot, you got to be careful because, for instance, what happened with me just now was I was fiddling with the X, but the Z was the one giving me problems. So I did. Now I got to check the X again because I just replaced a connector on the X when the wiring was off on the Z. Okay, the Z is now correct. Let me go back to this. Put it the way it was before I start messing it up anymore. 800. Reset. Okay, turn this on. Nope, can't turn it on yet. I got to plug this in. All right, here we go, guys. Finally, the Z again. Now for the true test. Still doing it. Let me check those cables. Z plus 5. This is plus, this is negative. Yes and yes. Okay. Now let's check those connections. Have a good one, Wilson. Red, blue. There it is. I got a bad connector. Or a bad solder. And there it is right there. See that, folks? And that is troubleshooting. Luckily, I got plenty of cable. Always have plenty of cable. Crank up the soldering iron. And let's fix that connector. Yeah, I mean, I see you guys are somewhat interested, so I'm going to keep it going till I do. Well, first of all, till the Z works, which it'll work in less than 5 minutes. I'll have this put back together, and we'll be good to go. But also, I'll show you the output tests with my fancy schmancy box, and that's always it's always fun to watch. Okay, so here we go. Clean the tip, tin the solder, tin the tip, tin the and get rid of the old one. And bring in the new. Solid joint. All the others are good. And back we go, guys. Put the nut back on. Let's check it out. Okay, Z. Take 4. And I'm a professional. There we go. Reset. And test. There we go. Working perfectly fine. No issue whatsoever. Now I messed around with the X, so I want to make sure I test the X again. Everything will be tested after I assemble it, so either way. There it is. There it is. Okay. Everything's functioning properly with the motors. Before I forget, let me finish tightening the connector. Okay. And now comes the fun part. Well, the fun part was the motors all worked. Now we have our test box. Yes, folks, it's our test box. So let's set it, I'll set it someplace where you can see it. Give me a second. I'll connect my red, my green, and my blue RGB, red, green, blue in that order, right here. I'll put the box up here so you guys can see the box running. Turning it on. Hit the reset button. Now, I'm going to do the following. First of all, I'm going to the diagnostic screen. Well, you can't see this part, but I'll show you. I'm going to press 1. Oh, sorry, that was 2. I bet you my hand is on 2 because... Nope, my hand's on 1. Sure enough, 1 is miswired. That's easy to do because input 2 is lighting up. Now, this is 1, which it should be 2. This is 1 and it should be 2. 3 is correct. 3 and digitizer and 4. So now I have to rewire input 1 and input 2, which are miswired. I somehow didn't see that one, but that's a quick fix. Input 1 and 2 are these two. Unplug and swap these two. And this is another reason why I want to do this before I put the board back in, because then all these tests happen for reals when the board is when everything's assembled. And for those of you that already bought one, yeah, I went through all of this. In most cases, it wasn't like this, but in most cases, I wasn't doing a live in the middle where everything's distracting. But okay, resetting and powering up in whatever order. So here we go again. Now let's try. That is input 1 and emergency stop. That is input 2. That is correct. That is input 3. And this should be input 4. Okay, inputs are fine. Now, for the fun part, which you guys should be able to see, I'm going to hit the different commands for the outputs. Not that anybody uses them, but... M3, which should turn on the first light. It does. M4 turns on the output number 2 and turns off output number 1. Boom. There it is. Let's see, M5 turns off 1 and 2. Then comes M7, which turns on the that one. Output number 3, then M8, then and let's go ahead and turn on another one. Let's try M3 again. Ooh, how exciting. All right. Now, all those wonderful lights are on. Now, the last thing to check is the voltage. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my MDI screen, and I'm going to set my spindle to 24,000 volts. 24,000 RPM. And turn the spindle on. Aha. And I have no spindle voltage, so I'm going to have to check that now. Okay, so the spindle voltage is there. $24,000. And it should be at half voltage. Okay, so the spindle's not working. Let me turn these off. Hello. Here we go. Go to the right. I'm sorry. I'm going to all the wrong screens here. There we go. MDI, M9 shuts those off. M5 shuts that off. But I could turn it on manually. Huh. The fact that the voltage is not being produced means that something somewhere is amiss. I will check it now. But that's the last I have to check. So that's... let me make sure I have that plugged into the right one. That's DAC. DAC goes to that plug. And the other one should be neutral. Let me turn everything off. Okay. This one I check a different way. I just want to make sure. Reset spindle on. Yes. Let's try that again with the card plugged in. Okay, now good old voltmeter. So this is the last of the checking. This should be negative, this should be positive. There it is. I figured it out. It's in the plug is wired on the wrong side. Not a problem. That'll be redone. And this will be fixed. So other than that, this box is, well, I'm pretty much going to end the show here because I'm not going to, go through another. I'll just do that now when I finish. So I'll bid you guys all a good night. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to just head on over to a hangout at this time. And while I redo the solder here, it was on the wrong side. And that happens more often than you might think because, well, it's happened to me twice. If you look at the connector upside down, remember, you always have to orient it whichever way you're going. In fact, I have a little drawing of exactly which way I have to wire everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little time and make a drawing for each one of these, and that way all future boxes won't give me this issue. But the voltage is coming out perfectly fine, which you would have seen here in this one. But unfortunately, well, it is what it is. Thank you all for watching. You guys all have a wonderful evening. And I'll catch you all on Wednesday for another Soldering with Javi. I don't know what I'll be doing. Probably just soldering this time. Who knows? Maybe I might put another one of these together. Have a good evening, everybody. And thanks again. Remember to thumbs up on the way out.